Welcome to Almost Agreeable.
Almost Agreeable.
With your hosts, Chris Nellison and Ed Harris. Hang around and listen to opinions on sports, movies, music, and whatever else pops in our head.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Almost Agreeable podcast. We have another guest on for today. We have our producer, social media manager, everything.
Tech department.
She just does it all except for, well, she's not on every episode. So we have Lindsay here.
Hello, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm back.
Lindsay's joining us today, and we are going to dive into a spoiler review. Heads up, spoilers. If you have not watched season 2 of The Boys yet, probably turn this off right now and go watch it. If you haven't watched it, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Especially because Mandalorian comes out here in a couple days, so you gotta get it in. You gotta get it in before Mandalorian starts, because then it's all Mandalorian after that. But season 2 spoiler review of The Boys. So quite a season, right? Off the bat. Do you guys think this season was better than the first one?
Yeah. Immediately, yeah. It just expanded on everything and brought in some new heroes, brought in some different heroes, and took it a different direction, which I think, that needs to happen. As series go on, they need to evolve, and they can't just be the same thing over and over again. Supernatural.
Shots fired.
They just have to continue on with an interesting story, take it in different routes, and I think they did that absolutely with... So just one aspect of that was the Church of the Collective, and, that they weren't even, villains or anything. It was just things that were happening.
I think I love the parallels that are drawn about Scientology.
There are a lot of parallels drawn in the show.
Oh, especially this season.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too into it, because a lot of it's political. But that Scientology gimmick with the Church of the Collective, I really enjoyed it.
It's pretty funny.
It's really funny because I had recently watched a documentary, expose on the church, and as I was watching, I was like, "Fucking A! This is exactly what they were doing in the season 2 with the Church of the Collective. It is exactly that." So
yeah, you would point out, you're like, "Hey, that's Church of the Collective. Scientology. I don't know. I've been watching both." Going back and forth.
I get confused.
So, we end season 1 with finding out Rebecca's alive and Homelander has a kiddo.
With Rebecca, yeah.
With Rebecca.
And he's a soup. You find that out at the end because his eyes glow at the end of season 1, right? We just watched it over again just to kind of get refreshed before the season 2 started. So, Rebecca's alive. And then, I guess, if strictly just talking the end of that episode, you're like, well, how the fuck does Butcher, what happens now? How's he going to get out of that? Or is he just showing him this before he kills him? Homelander? Is he showing Billy this before he kills him? How's he going to get out of this? And then we find out down the road, how he was able to get out of that. But, yeah, a great way to start the second season is the boys are kind of scattered a little bit. Butcher found out that the whole reason he's doing this is... Just
back to that for a second. I don't know if you've noticed or people have noticed, but his son is different.
Yes.
It is a different actor.
It's a different child.
Yeah.
It's a different child
It's
actor.
a different kid, and you're just like, why?
Well, maybe, I guess it's good that you only see him for 10 seconds in the season finale.
It's not much.
And then, because we didn't realize it was a different kid until we went back and watched season 1.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had rewatched it, and then I'm like, hey, wait a minute. That's not the same kid.
That's not the right kid.
Not the right kid at all.
But I didn't notice that because of the gap between the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So, unless you watched it back to back.
Which we did.
So, yeah. We pick up, right where kind of Billy... We don't pick up with Billy. We pick up with the rest of the boys.
Yeah, with the rest of the boys. Billy's gone at this point.
They don't know where he is. They don't know if he did kill Stillwell, right? Because Homelander killed her, right?
So, yeah, they think Billy did it.
Yeah. They have that awful reenactment they keep replaying on TVs.
Oh, God.
I'm going to bullocks you.
Shut your trap, you dumb bat. Or else I'll bollocks
It's so bad. But that's what anybody sounds like anytime they do that accent. They try to do that accent, that's what you sound like.
So, boys are like a low point right now. Huey is almost at rock bottom. He's not quite there yet. We don't think doesn't hit rock bottom until like episode 3 of the season, but he's there. He's on the threshold.
Oh, because in the beginning of the season, he, like, smells bad, he looks bad because he meets up with Starlight. And she's like, or he's like, you look great. And she's like, you look.
You look
Terrible.
Terrible,
just bad.
And it kind of, I guess, it kind of answers a couple questions right off the bat there. It's like, okay, Starlight is, like, still helping Huey. She still wants to take Vought down because of what she found out in season 1, that no soup is a natural-born soup. There's no such thing. Except until Ryan. Obviously, now we realize that Ryan is a natural-born soup. We'll touch on that a little more later, but they obviously have a plan here, Huey and Starlight, and this is kind of outside of, Eminem and Frenchie don't know that Huey's having liaisons with Starlight.
Yeah, it's a secret thing that it's, he's just like, dang, this is my lady, like, but she could also help me out a lot. Like, we're trying to go against this company. We have a mole.
Essentially. And I can just say, like, the entire season, I was so scared for Starlight because Homelander terrifies me.
Well, yeah, he's a sociopath. Just a...
With powers.
Yeah. One of the scariest things ever. It's a psychotic Superman. It's no good for anybody.
It's like Superman with red kryptonite.
Yikes.
Yeah. So we get introduced to a character in this first episode that stays with us for the remainder of the season.
Which, the first episode I kind of like because Starlight wants to be her friend.
I guess I kind of...
But, like...
we're talking, of course, about Stormfront.
Yes.
And I guess, for me, I just like the shit she said to her fucking attitude, because this is before you find out that she's a fucking Nazi.
We'll get there.
I'm sorry. But, that aside, this is all build up to a character that you're like, I think I might like this character. She's pretty much like, fuck Vought. I'm doing my own thing. I have a mouth on me.
She's like real millennial-esque.
Yeah.
Like
on the social media.
all the time.
Going live
She's
behind
got
the scenes.
She's got her edgy haircut.
Yeah.
I had that haircut.
Well, you were edgy.
For like 4 months.
Count it. But I mean, so we're introduced to some new characters in this. Like, we had Stormfront come in, but we also had the CEO of Vought.
Well, I mean, he was in it for like 10 seconds in season 1, but really he's introduced.
We're really
now.
introduced, and we're seeing, like, Stan Edgar just be the boss.
Right, we get
because
to see him
he
be
is.
Gustavo Fring.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We get to see him be Moff Gideon.
Is he typecast? And if he is, that's the best typecast in Hollywood.
Yeah, I'm okay. Just keep casting him as that role.
Yes.
As the intimidating, soft-spoken guy.
He was great.
Soft-spoken villain.
Yeah.
He's terrifying.
He is.
He's scary.
Even in a world full of superheroes that are homicidal, pathological, and, suffer from sociopathy, he is still scary. Just, because of the presence that he commands. And that goes back to, the actor, Giancarlo Esposito, is amazing. So I'm so glad he's a part of this cast, because as we go through this season, we can talk about the new characters and their performances, but some of the performances given by the characters we already know this season were amazing, and we'll get there, because I don't know if it'll happen, but definitely some Emmy nods are deserved from some of the performances in this season for sure.
You think so? I don't know if there's any, like, one particular one that completely blew me away.
Homelander did.
Homelander.
I don't think he, like, blew me away.
He did in that final episode. Like this, the range of emotions he goes through. Do I want to hit that yet?
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. So, the boys, right? The remaining boys, sans Billy at this point, they decide they're going to go talk to Raynor, their CIA contact, right? And they have some, because they saw that the guys that French was running with brought in some human trafficked a soup in.
Yeah.
A soup terrorist.
Whoops.
So they're going to go tell Raynor about it. And then, well, it blew her mind.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
Yeah. And you're just like, oh, what the fuck? And then it's just like clearly if they just blew her head up, it was like, I don't know why they thought like they would be safe, but like of course you're gonna run.
Yeah.
You're gonna you're gonna want to try to get away, but like they just did that. It wasn't like she was shot or anything. Her head exploded.
You know what's wild? And since we've already talking about how this is going to have spoilers, it's like that scene happens, they escape, quote unquote, and right after it's a cut scene to a TV, and Senator Newman is on the TV talking.
Yep.
Like immediately after that scene. So like obviously you're not thinking that back in episode 1, but like you can go back and watch and be like, oh, they were telling us. Subtly.
There are some. It's like, oh, okay, it cuts right to this person.
Mm-hmm. Who we haven't really been introduced to yet, as like a character, like. But either way, Raynor's head explodes, and they're like, "Well, fuck, what now, right?" And it's about time that we bring Billy back into the fold. Well, not some against Huey's wishes. Huey was kind of not about it at all. He was trying to be the de facto leader. Huey, you're not a leader, buddy. I'm sorry. You're Huey.
You just you're his Robin.
Well,
You're his
after,
Canary.
Okay, Canary.
I mean, but also his Robin.
Sure.
After Billy tried to shoot the soup terrorist that ends up being the brother
Of Kamiko.
Right. The boys did side with Huey because they're like, dude,
Yeah, he
could be one of us.
Yeah.
Like,
He could help
Chill.
us. He could help us out. He is a soup, and we're going against soups. We could probably use this to our advantage.
Then we find out like it's been ingrained on him so much to like that America sucks, because he has seen the soups in action overseas, like just killing villages and killing people, and so he's like not even about that. He's like, nope, I'll fight the soups, but like not the way you guys are doing it. Like, not legally, anyways. I'm going to kill him.
Yeah. I mean, really just because of the way this series was released, the season was released, the first 3 episodes were released immediately.
All at once.
And then it was a week-to-week basis, which I enjoy more.
I like that, too.
You're able to digest it. You're able to actually talk about it, that week with whoever. You're able to talk about it and really think about what could happen. And then it kind of just... it gets you anxious. It gets you excited. Like every Friday, you're like, "Oh yeah, perfect! I can watch that."
Right, and I guess it's like the highlight of our Monday morning conversations at work after the boys episode. That Friday, we come into work and just, okay, let's go.
What do we got? What do you guys think? What are we gonna do? So the first 3 episodes they kind of just blend together. Like a lot happens, but they all kind of blend together. They really come up with this idea, like, okay, we're gonna release like the fact that Compound V is a thing.
Right, and they do that in episode 3. Starlight finally gets it from the, what's his name? Lizard boy? Gecko.
Lizard boy.
Lizard boy.
Lizard boy.
Close enough.
Lizard boy.
Gecko. And she gets the Compound V and she takes it to the news, to the press. And that information comes out. And Stan Edgar is not very happy, but doesn't give a shit. Didn't tell Homelander about it. Homelander was mad about that.
That was great.
That was awesome. And so at the end of that episode, they're trying to get the soup terrorist, Kamiko's brother, to Mallory at this point, right? Mallory wants him so they can finally nail Vought because they think this is connected somehow, that Vought's doing this. We don't get that. We do get an interesting scene where they crash a boat through a whale because the Deep thinks he's going to have his moment finally of redemption. Also, we skipped over just the Deep's transformation into the church.
Yeah, he went right into the Church of the Collective, loves Fresca, and...
has a wife.
And just gets a wife. He gets this whole thing like, okay, I'm going to get back into the 7. This is going to get me back into the 7. I'm on the right track. And it's just, I love that it followed him throughout the entire season. Like, they could have just done away with him, but like, I love that it just gave him this weird-ass arc, because he's already weird as shit.
Yeah. And so, he does not stop the boys. His whale gets murdered. And this is a point where Huey really is at rock bottom, I feel. And it takes Eminem to kind of let Billy know, like, hey, this is when he says it. He says, this is your canary. Like, you can't leave him behind. This is our dude. Like, and so Billy ends up saving him from Homelander. That scene terrified the fuck out of me too, because Starlight finds him, and then Homelander comes and he's like, kill him now, or I'll fucking kill both of you. And then Butcher, with the best his only one and only line that he repeats. I don't want to say it. I'll see you next Tuesday. But saves Huey.
He says, "Oi, cunt."
Okay. Thank you. And kind of saves Huey because Kimiko's brother throws him underground for several hundred yards. I don't know. Enough time for them to escape. But he also escapes. And Stormfront, this is when we find out that she's fucking terrible. Because on her chase for him, she kills a bunch of people in that apartment complex. Straight up. And then she drops the racial slur before she kills Kimiko's brother.
Yeah, like as she's even before they get to the roof, she's just ravaging through this entire apartment complex, killing anybody, just and kills them, keeps walking through whatever.
Yep.
And you're just like, huh. Well, that's not right.
Yeah, something's...
It's just not right. It's really eerie here. Something's fucky.
A member of the Seven, or a soup, any soup, probably shouldn't be like that. And then, like you said, gets to the roof, breaks his wrists. It just calls him, a yellow bastard?
Yep.
And it's just like, huh.
You're like, oh, this bitch sucks.
You're like, oh, shit.
Oh, we hate her. That's okay. This has changed.
Damn, this isn't okay.
So she's not against Vought, or if she is, she's not going against Vought for a better reason.
Yeah,
and
it's really confusing after that. You're like, I don't know what her motives are anymore.
Yeah, which makes her even more terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't understand someone like that, because I think we have a pretty good handle on Homelander. He's just so fucked up from being raised the way he was that's why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
With Stormfront, at this point, you have no idea what the fuck is going on. And you just know that now we have a new person who we hate more than Homelander, which is rare. I think I did hate her more than Homelander.
At least at one point.
At one point, for sure, just because she absolutely... Ugh. She just... Homelander is psychotic, but you can see what his emotions are, why he's doing the things he's doing. We have no idea why Stormfront's doing what she's doing, so you're like, no, this bitch sucks.
Yeah, she fucking sucks.
And so then, during these first 3 episodes, we also see Ryan finally use his powers.
Oh yeah, because he got mad at Homelander.
He's pushed into it, rather.
Yeah, which is kind of a foreshadow, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
Now that we're talking about it, I guess, because he was never, when he tried to use him, it wasn't happening. It happened because there were triggers, essentially, that got him to use his powers. In that sense, it was like Homelander was being mean to Becca, and he was like, I fucking hate you! Showed him some shit, showed him what he's made of. And, that whole interaction where he's just, there at Becca's with Ryan, just so cringy. I hated it. And you feel so bad for Becca.
You do feel bad for Becca, and I think that is also one of the reasons why Stormfront was just, the worst. Because she comes in, and she's like, this is Dad's girlfriend, and you're just like, fuck you, you're not his mom. You can't and shouldn't act like this. No, you suck. Dude,
that was when we get later on and they both come, I was just, scared. And then when they leave with him, I mean, we're not there yet, but, fuck. Because before even all that happens, Butcher does get into that compound and talks to Becca.
Yeah.
They bust a nice little quickie in the back of the car, and then you kind of realize, Butcher is never going to want to take this kid.
Yeah, just kind of that's it. You're like, he's some fucking soup freak.
yeah, and that when he said that, I looked at Lindsay, I was like, ooh, he shouldn't have said that.
I shouldn't have said that. I should not have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
And, she ends up not going with him because she knows that he can never have Ryan with him and, try to raise him or anything like that. They could never coexist because of Billy's hatred of soups. Yeah. And we find out a little bit more about Billy's past, just a little bit more. She talks about how he was on a warpath before they were even married. Yeah, it kind of gets fleshed out. I definitely like how his history has been fleshed out, through the season. The more you go, the more his history is fleshed out, how is his relationship with his dad, with his mom, and his brother. Right, who we hear about, is kind of like a Huey type of character. Yeah. And
which is why he has, a little soft spot for Huey.
And I guess if we're talking about backgrounds and stuff, I really love what they did with Frenchie. right? And the whole lamplighter thing.
The whole...
We'll talk about lamplighter here in a little bit, but I want to talk about how it... Because, like, all we know in season 1 is that Mallory's grandkids got incinerated by lamplighter, and it was Frenchie's fault. And you're kind of thinking, okay, yeah, how though? And we learn about Frenchie's life, like how he was recruited by Mallory, how he had these junkie friends and he was himself a junkie, and how that night, he had to go save his buddy's life. This ends up happening. Did never told anybody about it. You can see Eminem when he finds out, he's like, fuck, Frenchie, why didn't you tell us? Like, why didn't you tell us? Like, we would have forgave you.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have hold the grudge for however many years it's
at
been.
least 8.
Yeah. I love Frenchie.
And yeah, I just do love the history that shows with, almost all of the characters. And then getting onto the other side, the main antagonist for most of the show, Stormfront, we're seeing now in episode 4, like, what her history, who she really is.
Right. She was married to Frederick Vought. The Vought.
Well, I guess not even that, not even at that point yet. It's just like we see that she's Liberty.
Oh, that's right. Like, she's been a fucking soup for decades.
Yeah, like in the 70s she was Liberty, and then it's just like she's gone.
Liberty's just gone, and now there's a new suit, Stormfront.
Right. And we see that this thing, like, we have the comment she made to Miko's brother, and then when we see her actions when she was Liberty, we like, this bitch is definitely fucking racist. Like,
yeah.
What the fuck is going on? And then, like, yeah, I guess it's later on that we find out that she is, in fact, was literally a Nazi.
An actual Nazi.
Like, not like, oh, you're being a Nazi. Like, nope.
Like
wearing swastikas and shit.
Hung out with Hitler.
Like, had pictures with Goebbels.
Goebbels, yeah. Like, you're with the Nazi.
Yeah. The master of propaganda himself.
Yes.
And then Homelander, like, that scene where she fucking tells him everything, I thought for sure Homelander wasn't going to be on board. And then he was.
Well, because then she praised him for being, this
the
Aryan...
poster boy for Aryan fucking...
Yeah, when did I don't remember what icon or what episode it was, but that iconic line, "Laser my tits, you fucking pussy."
The end of episode 4, maybe?
It's shortly after.
It's right there, yeah.
I think it's the same scene where she's like, here's everything that
No. That happens, and then she doesn't tell him that stuff until after she lied to him about being gone for 20 minutes because she was at that fucking asylum, and he went to Vought Tower to check, and that's when she told him everything. So it was 2 different episodes.
Okay.
Laser My Tits was like episode 4 at the end, and then she told him everything at the end of episode 5, I think. So we find out that she was a fucking Nazi.
But how great.
We're going back to Laser My Tits?
Yeah. I was like, we could talk about that for at least like 30 more seconds.
I spoke with many people who said that they were like, oh wow. I was very uncomfortable during that whole fucking scene. Fucking scene.
I thought it was just so fantastic. I love that shit. I have talked to like multiple people that said like, it was just awkward. I didn't know what to do. I felt uncomfortable. I was like, that shit was dope.
It was fucking terrible.
Well, he goes easy on her, and she's like, no, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like beating the shit out of each other, like throwing each other into the walls, fucking like while they're flying. It just was...
Great.
I guess, sure, we could use the word great to describe it.
It was super.
You're not
All right, and that's the podcast. Today, we'll be seeing you. Ed is fired. But we kind of get a clearer picture now what Stormfront's motivations are. Because at this point, which we haven't talked about, the boys have been to the asylum. They've seen what Stormfront is doing behind the scenes, and she has Lamplighter executing her plan. We get to meet Lamplighter, and we find out that he is not this vicious, child murdering dude we thought he was. He's Aaron Ashmore. He's the guy from X-Men. What's his name? Iceman.
He's Iceman.
He's Iceman.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Is it Sean or Aaron?
I don't know.
It's one of the twins. It's an Ashmore.
Yeah.
He's not, he's still a piece of shit, but like the circumstances are different. We find out what happened, like that he was trying to kill Mallory, that the guilt followed him from killing kids. One of the reasons why he left the Seven, and now he's in this facility where they're testing out Compound V on adults, right? Because Stormfront's trying to build this soup army, right? So the Aryan race can stand tall.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what I like about The Boys and like the character development is that it's not just black and white, unless you're Storm French. It's just she's just horrible, but
damn.
But everyone, it's more complex than that. Like Lamplighter is not just a bad soup. He feels guilty, and then there's Frenchie who they blamed for like the death of Mallory's kids,
grandkids,
but he was doing it for a good cause, like not a good cause, but like
he was fighting back against the boys. So he thought.
Yeah.
And we see what that guilt has done to him, and then he eventually, he's like, all right, cool, I'll help you guys out, I guess. And for something else to happen, but
just the motivations of everybody and what drives everybody is so clouded. You never know. Everything's murky. There's nothing that is just quite clear. It could be something you meant to do that was good, and it ended up being terrible.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not black and white. It's all shades of gray.
It's that same episode where, because Huey gets wounded really bad, and Butcher and Starlight have to get him out of there, and she kills that dude because he pulled out a gun, and she was like, why the fuck did you have to pull out a gun? And she's talking to Butcher like, he just got in my way. Like, and you can kind of see that her character also is kind of getting beaten down, like, much like Queen Maeve is now. Like, she's not obviously at that point yet, but, like, you can see that's the kind of the path, like, that Starlight's kind of on, just jaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so I was just thinking about Huey getting hurt, and I was thinking about the episode where they're all together and Black Noir is just stalking them.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because my butt puckered when like Butcher walked out the door and he's just like on the roof across the street looking at him with just his head, and I was like, oh my god, ah!
Just a little creep, just like, oh shit.
He's like walks back and he's like, Black Noir's outside, and they all start freaking out. Has a great plan, like call the police to start getting set up in here while he can't attack us while they're here, and blackmail is the number one saving grace of the boys all the time, because that's how they end up getting out of that, right? Because Edgar, and this just make me think that Black Noir is like Edgar's dude. He's got the body cam on Black Noir, and pretty much is doing Edgar's bidding.
Yeah.
I never see him getting missions assigned by anybody else, and it's like he's always just kind of in the shadows.
Well, I see Black Noir on more missions than anybody else, really.
Yeah, honestly. like
everyone else is doing movies and
the beginning of one of the episodes, he's like slits that person's throat and then just catches that glass, and their blood is just flowing into the glass.
Oh,
and like,
yes.
I don't remember what mission he was on, but
it was overseas. Yeah.
So he does all the shit.
Because he picks up that kid's like crying on the bed. He picks up the little doll and goes like this.
He
Run back and forth with it.
It's like, it's not funny, dude. You're creepy.
Yeah. So Black Noir, he's awesome too. So.
And that's when Butcher plays his cards. He's just like, oh yeah, Becca's alive, and I'll tell everybody, and then that's the first time and Huey find that out as well. There's like, wait, what? Becca's alive and you have a soup kid?
Yeah, because they know Becca's alive, but they don't know about Ryan.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what the fuck? Well, that gets him out of there. And then from here, it's just like, the fuck, man. Frenchie's trying to get Kimiko back into the fold because she's off ripping faces off and stuff.
Yeah. You know what'll help her? If you just try to fucking make out with her.
Yeah, that definitely is a great idea. Clown. No, women know nothing better than that when they're depressed.
Surprise kiss.
Yeah.
Well, then, so right after the Black Noir episode of him stalking them, going forward to Stormfront and the asylum.
Oh, yeah.
That whole scene stressed me out.
Oh, yeah.
Once everyone, broke free.
Oh, we almost skipped right over the long dick.
Well, no, we're getting to that. We're getting to it. Everybody's breaking free.
No, I know, but I was talking about the asylum earlier, and I just didn't want to leave the conversation without talking about getting choked out by a dick.
What, Lindsay, do you think that girl who just crushes people, like the bald girl...
Cindy.
11?
Is... Yeah. Yeah. Do you think she makes... Like, do you think she reappears? Do you think she's actually going to play a part maybe in season 3?
Oh, yeah. I think so. Well, my theory is she's the one that attacked Raynor.
That was her theory to begin with. Obviously, we know it wasn't.
Yeah, and that's what my wife was saying as well. That clearly she's crushing people, exploding people. But I was like, at that point she would have been in the asylum, and it was like, I guess if they could use her as like an attack soup. But that's what my wife thought too, and I was like, yeah, maybe, but I wasn't thinking that too much.
I think we're definitely going to see her again, though, because it showed her hitchhiking, like, all by herself. Like, so I think she's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think they would show that last scene of her just...
I thought it would play a part more in the same season, though. Like, we see that, and then we see nothing, and, like, of course, it's something easy to go back to, and be like, oh, yeah, of course, we see this extra scene, so she'll come back. I just thought it was going to be sooner.
I thought it was, too. I thought we were going to see her, like, at least in the finale. But we don't know, like, who she is or what her motivations are or how she got pulled into that asylum. Like, we don't know anything about her. So it could be something that can be explored in season 3.
Yeah.
Well, there was so much in season 3, I think they'd have to... Season 2, that they'd have to, like... bring her back later to give her some time to, who knows,
right,
hone in on her powers.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying.
Might be out there practicing blowing people up.
It just
squishing them, actually.
Before she even squished anybody, like the fear on Lamplighter's face when he saw her, I knew she was a bad bitch. Like he was just like, ah! He's like, it's okay. And then she did it, and then MM and Frenchie are just like, oh fuck! Like,
gotta get out of here!
Yeah, that whole scene in the asylum, I was stressed out.
It's terrifying.
And like, how are they going to get out? How are they going to leave? How are they going to get past all these different soups? Like,
oh, Stormfront's here.
Oh, that too. Yeah, this bitch came, and I was like, oh no.
Doesn't help for the boys. It helps for Lamplighter.
But Lamplighter, he lied. Like, he didn't tell her that they were around the corner.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, very, very stressful. I agree.
And then they eventually do.
They get out.
And then they call it Billy. Like, yo, Billy. Or, yo, MM. Did you tell Billy? Did you tell Billy?
Did you tell Billy you had a dick wrapped around your neck?
So yeah, then they bring Lamplighter into the fold. They can keep him safe because he's going to be a witness to testify at this hearing, right? And Billy's going to go off, and so is Mallory. They're going to go talk to Vogelbaum. Also, they want him. And then this is where Starlight gets caught, because at this point she's taken out her tracker and she's full on part of the boys essentially, and her mom gets her caught. And now she's being held prisoner, and we hear Homelander talking to Stormfront like we should just kill her, and she's like, no, we can use her later. And that was ultimately a mistake, because now Huey convinces Lamplighter, who strangely enough just likes to casually just watch porn during the day. It's kind of weird.
Just loves to watch porn of like parody porn of the Seven.
Yeah.
It's just like there's layers.
And the fact that the show produced porn for the show, like...
It's great. It's great.
That's the kind of show this is.
You can see how uncomfortable Huey is, like I said, because they made him babysit him because he's useless. But he convinces Lamplighter to help him break into Bot Tower and save Starlight. So I'm thinking, cool, dude. Like, finally he's going to have some redemption. Lamplighter is.
You'd think.
Nope. That's not what happened. I kind of knew it. As soon as he said, my statue's gone, I was like, he's going to kill himself. I think I said it to you.
You did.
I didn't think that at all. I was just like, oh, of course, he's still like caught up with when he was in the Seven, and was just like, what? They already removed my statue and stuff like that. Much darker.
That's what I thought, and then he was like, uh-oh. And then we watched him just
incinerate himself.
And yeah, I guess I got a little more of an inkling of what he was going to do once he was like, I want to do it in front of my statue.
Yeah,
like,
that's...
Oh, no!
That's when I looked at Christopher. I'm like, you were right.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
fucking does that. And then Huey has to chop his arm off so he can get through all the doors. But he eventually does find Starlight. And what? Does she go back upstairs because she has to get something? Because she gets confronted by Black Noir.
Or I think...
No, she breaks out herself.
Yeah, she breaks out herself and then they go meet. Like, they meet up in the hall.
Right. Because after she breaks out, she goes into the conference room. Black Noir's there fucking beating the shit out of her, dude. Like,
yeah,
wasn't a contest.
Black Noir's dope as fuck. I mean, like, we still really don't know, like, how powerful he is. We just know that he is pretty fucking strong. But his one weakness...
Queen Maeve knows.
Queen Maeve knows.
And she is a queen. I love her. And then all she says is, tree nut allergy.
She's got a tree nut allergy. And then just walks off.
And then dips.
What did you think was happening when she first came behind him
and pulled up his mask? I thought she was going to choke him out. I thought she was going to, like, put him to sleep. And then as soon as she got the mask off and shoved the fucking candy, and I was like, is she poisoning him? That looks like an Almond Joy. And really, I was so confused.
And it was. I was watching it and I was like, okay, she's pulling his mask up. Maybe because he wears those glasses, maybe he's just would be blinded by, like, anything that's not, like, pure darkness. So she's going to pull the mask off and then kick the shit out of him. Nope. Just
Tree nut allergy.
just a tree nut allergy. And I was like, it just reminded me of the guy that, the blind dude that Homelander popped his fucking ears.
Oh my god.
It reminded me of that. It was like, oh, just something that simple.
Something even more simple.
He popped his ears and he just looked at, what's that girl's name?
Ashley.
He just looked at Ashley. He's like, you fucking serious?
I forgot about that.
But it was that same kind of thing. All these soups, not all these soups, but apparently some soups just have the simplest thing in the world that
is their weakness.
Is their weakness.
And yeah, Queen Maeve saves Starlight. Starlight asks her to come with her. She's like, no. And Starlight and Huey escape with her mom, and they go to watch the hearings. Okay, so the end of this episode is where they watch the hearings because Butcher convinced, I wouldn't say convinced, persuaded Vogelbaum to testify at the hearing. And he comes in, and they're all watching it on TV, the boys are, and everyone's there, and then... Ooh.
And then heads, I was going to say heads start to roll, but that wouldn't be accurate.
No, I mean...
Shit.
I already used the blew my mind analogy.
It was popping.
It was... That Shockwave's dumbass is just watching this happen, who literally can get out of there the fastest. Nope, just going to stand there like an idiot. And bam, his head goes bye-bye too.
Well, he was in shock.
You're also fired.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, that, all of that is happening. I was like, oh, one after the other. And you're just, like, waiting to see. It was like early Game of Thrones type of deal where you're like, anybody can die right now.
Yeah, I thought Mallory was going to get it.
Yeah. You're like, absolutely anybody can die right now. I don't know what's going to happen. And then, like, how are people escaping? Who's doing this? Because clearly it's blowing up Soups and Vogelbaum and civilians. What the fuck is happening?
And the chairman.
And yeah, all of this is happening. And I was like, I got nothing.
It was also fast.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things from that scene isn't even in that hearing room. It is A-Train and the Deep are watching it on TV, and the Deep, like, grabs his head to make sure his head's okay. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen. So stupid. He's such an idiot. But yeah, and then now, at this point, I have no idea who the fuck is exploding head still. I have no idea.
Yeah, at that point you're just like, okay, well, hopefully we can see in the next episode. And then we finally get to episode 8.
Episode 8, the final finale.
All of these always throw me off because I'm so used to, like, 10 episodes, and then it's like, oh, okay, episode 6 happens, and you're like, oh shit, there's only 2 more. So it's always so strange that these seasons are short to me.
Yeah, it sucks too because I want 10. But a lot happens in this episode.
They pack it full, though.
Yeah.
Like, they fill up that hour. They don't, like... There's not really filler episodes, though.
It all has a purpose. Explaining backstory, advancing the story, or just being entertaining.
Yeah, because it definitely feels like 10 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you just binge watch it and then it feels like only 3 hours have passed and you've watched it for, 8 hours.
Right, so at this point, Ryan has been taken by Stormfront and Homelander. And we're terrified for him.
So they can play mommy and daddy.
Yeah, and Becca finds Butcher and she's like, hey, you have to help me get him back. And Butcher makes a deal with Edgar, like, yeah, I'll get the kid back for you if I can, if it's me and Becca go off on our own way.
Yeah, if I can be cool,
Yeah. And we find that Edgar, really, his motivations are money, the bottom line. He knows what Stormfront is, but he's using her for the bottom line as long as he can.
That's what it is. That's what it's always been. He's controlling everything. It's all about shares.
Yep.
Share prices.
Well, yeah, he made that clear with Homelander when
Yep.
they had a meeting, and Homelander was like, my contract's up in, the end of this year, and he was just like, okay,
Okay.
Cool.
what are you going to do?
Free agent Homelander. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So...
Which is still kind of terrifying, because he can just
go rogue.
do whatever the fuck he wants.
So the boys are like, we're going to go we're going. We're going to get him. We're going with you. And they devise a pretty cool little plan, right, to distract Homelander from the cabin, and they can go in there and get Ryan, who doesn't want to be with fucking Homelander and Stormfront anymore. Claimed pretty quickly, he was like, I don't fucking want to be with these dudes.
Well, he had fun for, maybe, the first hour he was with them. Like, oh yeah, I can go see the world, which he hasn't seen. And then, he goes to the kid's place, and there was just so much stimulation for him. And that's the only good thing you see about Homelander, is he's like, oh my gosh, let's get out of here.
Yeah, you got him out of there.
And he got up, and you're just like, oh my god, that was actually so nice. That's weird.
Another scene I love, too, is when Stormfront's trying to explain to Ryan how whites are persecuted, and she's like, it's called white genocide. Even Homelander was like, what?
His face was just like, it was that meme, just like the guy looking and his eyes open. He's like,
what?
What?
Like, what kind of shit? Okay.
Like, Homelander has never... Homelander literally is America. He loves America.
Yeah.
He just wants his poll numbers to be great. He wants to be loved by everybody. He doesn't care who they are, what they look like. He just wants to be loved by everybody. And then Stormfront is just like, no, white genocide. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's when you realize, like, oh, damn, this bitch really is a Nazi. And, so what happens next? They get Ryan out.
So, they get Ryan out, and then they're in that cabin. And the boys devise a plan to go get Ryan.
Right.
They figure out where he is, and they're like, okay, we've got to do this. We know Frenchie has a background in...
superhero neutralization.
Yes. So we're just like, okay, he's putting shit together, and let's see what we can do. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there, I was like, well, there's no way they're going to be able to do anything against Stormfront.
And Homelander.
And they're just some dudes with Starlight.
Yeah.
That's it.
And Kimiko.
And Kimiko.
Who comes back from the dead.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's her power. Yeah, she can heal.
Like, she's already come back from the dead.
Yeah. Well, so they get him out, and we'll get to the scene where Homelander returns, but it's just like Butcher realizes he can't go through with the deal he made with Edgar because he loves Becca so much. So he tells Becca to get the kid and get the fuck out.
Yeah.
And he's going to stay. And the boys are like, no, we're all fucking staying too. And Homelander gets back to that cabin, and he's like, where's my fucking son? And then...
and all of the Vought guys are just like, oh. And then I love that they just sheepishly point their guns at him like, yeah, this'll work.
Yeah, he's not bulletproof or anything.
Yeah.
He's the strongest man alive, the most powerful person ever.
Or has laser vision where he doesn't even have to come anywhere near me. Like,
yeah.
Smart thinkers.
Like,
well, what else are you gonna do? You're gonna die.
You know you're dead, but boy, was it brutal, because when he walks out of that cabin, he is drenched in blood. Just completely covered in blood.
Right.
And as all this stuff is going on, are they fighting Stormfront at this point?
Well, yeah, Stormfront comes and she's like, fucks everyone up. And she's having a fight with Starlight, but she's clearly losing. And that's
Kimiko, but she...
And she snaps
Kimiko's
her neck.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the most badass moments of the season. I think she says, hey, Kraut.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she
Kraut.
does. As in, sauerkraut.
And then It's so funny because they start beating her ass, and then literally I said out loud, I was like, "Girls, get it done."
I said the same thing.
Yeah, I think we all said it before Frenchie did.
It was perfect.
And they just beat the shit out of her. It's
I
so
looked at Christopher,
awesome.
I'm like, "Girls, get it done." Passes over to Frenchie.
Girls, do get it done.
Yes.
And then Stormfront's like, "Nah, I'm done with
Yeah,
this.
she's fucking dips out.
I'm gonna dip out. I can fly, so like later, I know I'm getting my ass kicked." And you're just like, "Okay, well, you're not really sure where she's going."
When she catches up with Butcher and Ryan and Becca, fucks up Butcher for a second, and then is literally choking out Becca. She's gonna kill her. And that's when, earlier in the episode, she's like, "Focus on something you hate, and you can use your laser vision." And she gets full blast of Ryan's laser vision.
Yeah, and the whole scene just builds more and more, and you're waiting for what is gonna happen, because you're knowing something amazing, something extravagant is gonna happen, but you're not quite sure, is he gonna laser, what he's actually gonna do, and the whole scene is building, and then finally he just lasers her, lets it everything rip, and then you see the aftermath.
Yeah.
She's fucking she's toast.
She's
Literally.
toast.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
She's absolutely, and just laying there, speaking in German,
Right.
with, she has what, one limb left
Yeah.
from that? Like,
It
she
was
has,
one arm?
like an arm left? Yeah.
Yeah, she looks like Anakin.
Yeah,
Bananakin.
basically it, yeah.
And then Homelander arrives. But first, Butcher looked like he was going to kill Ryan, because he had inadvertently killed Becca.
Yeah. I was like, we're not going to skip over that.
Yeah,
It
we're
was
not,
like,
we're not.
Don't want that to be a gloss over thing. We have Ryan having all of this power, and it's just unleashed all at once.
Right.
It's like baby snakes don't know how to control their venom, so they just let everything out at once if they bite you. It's exactly what happened with Ryan. Just let everything loose.
Well, and he has no control because he didn't even know he had it until recently.
So Homelander comes down and ultimately has to decide between his son at first and the love of the people. And then Maeve comes to blackmail him, and which is why he comes to that dilemma. Like, he can kill Maeve, he can kill Butcher and take Ryan, and then, be hated by the world. And ultimately decides, like, no, he wants the love of the people.
He wants those poles and
He wants the
The love.
lovers. And he leaves.
because that's all he wants is love,
We gotta quickly
mostly from a mother.
We gotta quickly sum up what happens after that so we can get to Hot Route. We are running short on time. So, I mean, I'd hate to do that. But Maeve with the big save at the end there again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3 times the star shooter.
I'm telling you, she's a queen.
She's close. Like, she's always there. She's a badass. And so then we have, Starlight being forgiven, basically. Like,
Right.
oh, we were wrong. Stormfront was a Nazi, and Homelander's here to save the day again.
Yes. The boys kind of got their own ways, like almost like retirement, even though that now Mallory's going to sanction them legally. They're going to be a part of the CIA if they want. They're going to have a headquarters. They're going to have funding. But they all go their separate ways. MM goes back to his family. Frenchie and Kimiko go do their own thing. Huey goes to work for Newman, and this is after we find out that she is in fact the head exploder.
We had...
but he doesn't know that.
No, we
had,
do.
What was the name of the Church of the Collective, the head of the Church of the Collective?
Oh, Alistair.
Alistair. Yeah, so Alistair is the head of the Church of the Collective. Weird-ass dude, loves Fresca. Fuck Fresca.
Terrible stuff.
Terrible stuff. But we have that, and at the end of it's the end of episode 8. It's the season finale. I'm like, oh, they're going to build into something like, I'm sure this dude is going to be the villain for the next season. And then his head blows up.
And she's outside,
And she's
looking
right
right
up.
through the window.
Yep.
And so we don't know anything more than that. And then the season kind of ends. So, fuck. A lot of my questions talks about season 3. So let's go right into Hot Route, right?
Yeah, let's go right into
Okay.
Hot Route. This is perfect timing.
Let's go into Hot Route. Hot Route number 1. We'll stick with season 2 for a second here. Did you expect any of the boys to die in this season?
No, I didn't think so. I was still questioning maybe Kimiko, just because I'm not sure. Like, why? I just, maybe if anyone's gonna go, it might be Kimiko, but she also comes back from the dead, so I don't know how. But
I guess if it were to be somebody, it would be Kimiko. I mean, Frenchie is... And Frenchie, I guess, would be next on that list, but, like, MM is, like, the guy.
He's my favorite
He
character.
is the guy, and also has the dopest shirt game, like, ever. Just every shirt he's wearing, I'm like, that's fly as fuck. But honestly, I never even thought any of them were going to get killed. I just thought it was going to be maybe some type of imprisonment or putting them somewhere, but
getting caught.
Yeah, straight up never thought any of them were going to have some kind of extravagant or mundane death.
Okay. How about number 2? There's a neat little bow at the end of the season, right? Like I said a few minutes ago. What happens in season 3 that would draw, especially a character like MM, who is now with his family, back into the fray? Like, what's going to happen? Like, because that's all he wanted was to get back to his family, and now he has that. He's a free man. He's been cleared of all charges, not a fugitive anymore. What happens to bring him back into the boys?
Straight up, something happens to Huey. Not to Butcher. Something happens to Huey. That's what I think. Because Huey was that interim leader for a little bit, and they did look to him. I think something happens to Huey that definitely drives him. It would be something big on the news, something like that, and that would drive him to be like, okay, we're the boys. He is the boy.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because he does care about Frenchie, but he's like, Frenchie can take care of himself. Like, he won't come back for Frenchie. So that makes a good argument.
Okay, very nice.
But yeah.
You agree with Ed?
I do agree with Ed.
Yeah, that's okay.
But, like, even then, he'd probably just assume, like, oh, he'll be fine. Like, I don't know if MM would leave his family.
Well, he's gonna.
He has to.
He's going
He's gonna
to.
come back.
That's why it's a question.
I love MM.
All right. This is a question. This is 2 more, but I have to ask 2 more. So we'll do a 2-parter.
Okay, we got a 2-parter here.
How many episodes into season 3 before Homelander finally fucking loses it? We're close. We're on the cusp.
What do you mean he hasn't lost?
No,
it yet?
I mean like, you know, he's still a poster boy. How long before that scene that was like a daydream he had of like lasering the entire crowd? How long before we see some of that shit?
When does his contract end?
I don't think that's what we see. I don't think he ever will. I don't think he ever will because he is a sociopath. He's completely insane. He has these thoughts of doing all these things. He has these intrusive thoughts. Like, you know, you have this thought when you're driving and you're just like, what if I just like drive off this bridge right now? You know, that's just an intrusive thought. He just has way more abilities than your average bear. So I don't think it's something he'd ever act on because he loves love so much.
Okay.
Okay, so I almost agree with you. But if that love goes away, he will do something. I think.
Okay.
Because if his poles are down, like if they don't love him anymore, he will go crazy. And he will, like, blow up.
Laser everyone's fucking tits.
Yeah.
All right, and is Ryan the only one that can stop Homelander? And will he end up doing that?
I feel like that's too easy. Like, I feel like that I wouldn't like it if they do go in that direction.
Okay.
But for the fact of, is he the only one that can? I don't think so. What I thought was going to happen, and it kind of did, is all of these members of the Seven and all these different soups banding together, and then somehow they would find a way to beat Homelander if he ever did go just lose it completely.
Okay.
So that's what I think, like all these soups, random soups band together and get him.
Get him.
I think for the story arc, it would be that, or Billy, just to get that
Satisfaction.
redemption arc.
I just
Or
don't know
not
how.
redemption arc, but
I don't know how.
I don't either. Maybe he well,
We have
him
to-
and Starlight are, you know,
They're boys now.
they're,
Kinda. They had a moment.
they did have a
Bonding
moment
over Huey.
They did have a moment.
how
when-
he uses kid shampoo.
All right.
They also had a moment when he was like, "Yeah, you're a killer."
Yeah, he killed that dude. And she's like, don't look at me like that.
With respect. Ugh.
Okay, so that wraps it up. God, I could sit here for hours and keep going, but we are limited on time. So thank you, Lindsay, for stepping in with us today.
Of course.
Being part of the boys.
Hey. So, as always, I'm Chris.
I'm Ed.
And this has been Almost Agreeable.
Fuck Fresca.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Almost Agreeable. You can catch all new episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Almost Agreeable.